Well, here we are again, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for joining me today. My name is Rodney Bowden, and I am the general manager of the Collective Sedona. If you haven't watched the previous P.A.D. Amendment Workshop video, or if you haven't attended any of the January meetings, I would suggest that you stop this video here and come back to it after you have watched the video at this web address. You may be able to click right on the video and be taken there. If not, you can type it in your browser as it says below, or just search for P.A.D. Amendment Workshop video in the YouTube search bar, and it should pull up the other one. That has information in it that will be very useful for you and give context to the discussions we are about to have in this video. So this presentation was originally meant to be given on Monday, February 11th at 10 a.m. And as you can see from this photograph taken at 10:33 that morning, nobody showed up. And so this put a little bit of the kink in the works because we had hoped to have some input to talk about when I made this presentation. But because we didn't have anybody to have a discussion with, we weren't able to make much more progress. And so when it comes time for us to present our ideas to the Big Park Regional Coordinating Council, we're going to do what we think is best, and I hope at this point we've garnered enough trust and support from the community that you all will trust that we have the best interest in mind. First, the introduction I just gave you is going to happen, and then I'm going to dive into a conversation about wayfinding, followed by our Northern Monument sign, then our courtyard tenant signs, and then our Southern Monument sign. We're going to talk a bit about events, and then finally I'm going to follow up with a discussion about uses. Wayfinding is a topic that we actually talked about in great detail in the first two presentations, but due to technical difficulties that I did not catch until after I had already posted my previous video, this section was never included despite the fact that we had had a great discussion about it. So for that I apologize. It was unintentional, but I'll give you a quick bit of background, and then we'll dive in a little bit more into what our request is going to be. At this point, if you haven't read what these three blurbs say, I would encourage you to pause your video, read them, and then check back in once you've read them. We talked about the fact that identification signs and directional signs don't necessarily need to be mutually exclusive, and that it would be a great help for our tenants at the collective that if we could have a sign that said, for example, with an arrow pointing left, Bear Cloud Gallery, and then indicate that there is a gallery to the left, or to the right, Cucina Rustica, or in the back, Full Moon Saloon. This was met with support from the community, of course, pending design review and making sure that we have nice, attractive looking signs. And many of them will actually be out of sight of the road and really only useful to anybody that's passing by them. And so with those in mind, we garnered support for that idea. And we came up, this is the first place where we had hoped to get a little bit of feedback from the community. This and the following two slides are to get an idea of where we should put one of the most critical new sign additions to the property. We think that a combination, if you look at the top of our current design model, which is the rusted metal and red rock type look, mixed with the ability to use arrows and put tenant names, we think would be a really good addition. Now, as I said, I'm not a design guy. We're going to get bids from sign companies that are going to have certain specifications they need to meet. Of course, size and that sort of thing is going to be discussed as well at a later date. But For now, I want you to look at the blue rectangle and notice where it's placed. This is the first option we think we have of where we could put that very first sign where people are driving or walking in and they see, okay, I want to go to get ice cream, so I'm going to make a right. Or I want to go and grab a drink, so I'm going to go straight or left. That sort of a thing. And to that same effect, we have the next suggestion, which is potentially instead of putting it up front right next to the front pillar of the archway, we could set them back a little bit further, and there are two little almost islands of trees and bushes that line the side of the road there. And we think that those would also be good places. One thing that they would allow us to do is make them shorter. That way, they have the southern tenants on the left side and the northern tenants on the right side, and just dictate which direction you need to go for whatever tenants on the side you want to go to. I would like to remind you that the blue rectangles are merely placeholders. They do not indicate any scale of what we think the size of signs might be. If these were actual signs, they'd probably be about 7 feet tall. So don't worry, they are merely for you to see placement of where we think they would need to go. This is the third option we had come up with. I actually expect this to be the least popular. I don't mean to put that thought in your head, but maybe I'm wrong. But I think that being able to put tenant names and directions on the archway could potentially work for what our purposes are. I'm not sure that we all will think it's the best looking. If you have input on any of that, we're happy to hear it. Write it in the comments section of this video or shoot me an email directly. So here you can see we have green squares and red squares. The green squares indicate where we are requesting the ability to put new signs. And the reason we want to put these here are for a number of different reasons. As you can see, each entrance to the property, whether it be from the Hilton or from either of our north or south entrances, would have a directional directory that tells you which way to go to see where. We have also added one directly across from the Tesla charging station. That way, people who are charging their cars can see what else there is. We believe that is a critical piece of being able to direct people to the southern end of the property where they may not wander to elsewise. Also, putting a catch-all for our second floor entrance, people coming in and out of Snap Fitness to make sure that they know what new tenants are coming over time. And then another one down in the front of the B building so that when people are walking in or driving in, they are able to see where they want to go. Despite the fact it looks like there are 4 new signs being requested that you can see from the road, because of the way that things are designed on the property, you could probably only see 3 of them. That being said, they will be designed in such a way where they fit in with the world around them, and so hopefully be an aesthetically pleasing addition rather than the other way around. Also, we have a request for the relocation of the northern monument sign, so the APS transformers don't block the view. Right now, we are suggesting that they go anywhere inside that orange area. We haven't decided where is best, and so we're trying to leave it open to future planting and tree planting initiatives. So it's going to kind of vary on that. You'll notice over the course of the next year that we intend to be adding some new flowers and bushes and trees, and making it look a little bit brighter and nicer. We got a new landscaping service, all that. Anyway, that's irrelevant to this discussion, but just to give you a little bit more background on this. This was a initiative that was generally accepted by everyone, and so we hope that this is an acceptable execution of that. Our B100 suite is one of the suites that has multiple tenants that use one door, and in the discussions we got support for allowing more than one tenant to put their brand name or their store name up above the door. I remind you that these squares are not to scale, and they are there strictly as a placeholder to continue to conceptually talk about what we are hoping to do. Also, on the right side, you see the back side of the building, which faces into the parking lot, and you cannot see from the road. But we were also able to gain support for putting the signs up back there. So that is what these could, in a conceptual look like. And then here we go into the courtyard. All of our courtyard tenants that are on the first floor have the issue that they do not have a place to put their signs up and their logos up to let people know they exist. And so here we've got the Magical Mandala Kaleidoscope Gallery image hanging down, and then whatever shops may move in the future could put their signs in. Again, not to scale, just as an illustrative tool. Then we've got our E200 suite with Omar and Bay Equity Home Loans. You may remember his issue was that he has two doors and he doesn't know which one to use, neither of which are facing the road, and so he's stuck already having to appeal to people already on the property. So for him, especially when he's got people coming and trying to find him up on the second floor in the back of the property, it's critically important that he be able to have his sign on the front and back, and we were able to gain support for that. Here is a look at our request for the Southern Monument sign. Forgive the kind of cluttered image that you have here. As I said, I'm not a design guy. The black lines you see are call-outs from a schematic drawing that we had in file, so I do apologize. It sort of clutters the image up a bit. But this is the request that we'll have, that the Hilton will maintain the right to the top half of the monument sign on the main surface, and then the collective will maintain the right to the bottom half for any tenant, restaurants or not, and the Collective Sedona logo could be added above or below the decorative structure. Currently, under the rules we have, one of a number of different things could exist. The one that we believe is real is that in 2007 we were given the permission to give Hilton part of the sign and then put our restaurant names at the bottom. Currently, Full Moon Saloon is the only one taking advantage of that. We feel that that is an unfair practice, though, and would like the ability to put all of our tenant names on there. Again, this is going to be subject to design review. This does not at all look like what the actual font or colors or anything might look like on the future sign. It's just placeholders, but to give you an idea of what we're talking about. And then we would like to add our logo up at the top of the sign so that this no longer is the Hilton sign, but it is the collective sign, because it is ours, and that only seems fair. Again, don't mind the font and the feather and all of that. It is merely just a placeholder to give you an idea. This will all be subject to a design review in the future. For our events, we would like to request 156 days of events by right in our P.A.D. Events may be held anywhere on the property, including the right for tents to be set up for a total of 5 days, 1 day ahead, 1 day after the event. And then temporary signs, A-frames and sandwich boards may be used internally on TCS property to advise visitors of specials, events, and the existence of vendors. Of course, temporary signs will remain signa non grata along the AZ 179 walkway for a number of reasons. And finally, our banner can be put up a week ahead of an event under the archway, as opposed to our current rules, which say it can go up 2 days ahead and 1 day after. That's just not enough time, as we've seen over the course of the past little while. And I just want to address something. Those of you who weren't part of the conversation, and even some of you who might have been, might think that 156 days, I must have lost my mind. I want to draw your attention to a number of initiatives we have in the works. One is the ice skating rink. I just got off the phone with a gentleman and have been coordinating with the Hilton about bringing a temporary ice rink to the collective as a holiday amenity. If we did that, it would be open for 7 weeks, and that's 49 days right off the bat. Then if we get our Movies in the Courtyard initiative going and it kicks off and goes, we've got 2 times a month for the 6 months of nice weather that we would want to sit outside and watch videos or movies. That would be 12 days there. Getting good bands to come and play and draw people out could be anywhere from a monthly to a little bit more than monthly event. And then if we got our farmers market going and actually found someone to carry that torch and really make it thrive, then we would have another 52 days, give or take, of events. And so just those 4 initiatives hit us with 131 days of programming. And we've not even thought about all of these other events that I list here that we've already got people basically in the books for. So I hope you recognize I'm not so crazy after all, and that is not the most unreasonable request in the world. Finally, I want to just touch on a conversation that has popped up recently, both internally and with some outside sources. Currently in the P.A.D, we are allowed to have the uses of indoor retail sales, service, and office uses. But we've been thinking about what else can we do here, and I've had conversations with artist residency programs, such as converting a space into a place where there are little live work art studios, and people can come and spend a little bit of time to hone their craft and have the peace and quiet and serenity. We think that would be really neat. We're also working on courting a brewery. And with the functional aspect of the brewery, it might be a little different than just a retail use, so we may need to make some changes there. These discussions are ongoing, and I just wanted to give everybody a heads up so that if we start bringing this up, people aren't surprised, saying, wait, you haven't talked about that before. So just keep in the loop as new ideas come. We'll keep you all informed, and we'll certainly have more on that, or not at all if it becomes irrelevant at the big park meeting. So with that, thank you for walking through that with me. I know it's a little less polished of a video than the first one was, and I know we covered a lot. I'm sure there are some questions out there. I'm happy to field any and all of them. If you have thoughts, questions, comments, concerns, praise even, that would be nice. Please feel free to reach out. I look forward to continuing to work with all of you, and we can't wait to get the official part of the process going so that we can start getting some of these initiatives in the works. Take care. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and we'll talk soon. Bye-bye.